Okay. So we're out of the executive session, and let's move along. Actually, let's approve the agenda. Is there anything that needs to be taken out? A motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Kirsten?
Aye.
Aye.
Kim?
Aye.
Joy?
Aye.
Motion carries. Move on to celebrations with Director Graves and Assistant Superintendent Economic.
We're just fighting on who gets to go first.
Rock, paper,
I'll do it.
scissors.
So Chairman Grant and members of the board, I just wanted to thank you, Chairman Grant, and your and the churches that worked with you, and Brian Taylor, who isn't here tonight, and the churches that he worked with, for getting us our signs that had to be donated for the law. And I know you worked with Brian Taylor to help get us a sign for a poster for every school. And we should have those tomorrow. When we have our admin meetings, we'll give them to every school to go put up. But I want to thank you very much for your support in working with the churches that you worked with, and Brian Taylor worked with Brian Taylor, because it was a combined effort to make sure that these were donation, and so we're very grateful for that. So thank you very much.
My part is to update you on the projects still from that 2017 bond that finished either spring or summer or almost finished, and then kind of give you my last update as the money has finally been all spent or encumbered. Is that the right word? Yeah. The first one is the Kevin Gifford Memorial, not Memorial. Kevin Gifford. Kevin Gifford is still alive, I promise. But I know the excitement. We talked about having our kids actually do a screen print of Kevin. It's just right there in the middle of it. To see that gym floor, I know it definitely allows for a lot of things for our community, especially, but our high school is probably already thinking of all the ways that they can use it as an overflow gym. But it just...
Is it real wood?
As far as... I don't think it's like Boston Garden, but it's
not vinyl though.
No. It's as real as we get, yeah. So that project is finished and ready for PE. I know that was one of the things that every kid from Reed were like, hey, did you guys hear about your gym? And they're very excited.
So what about shoes, as far as making sure you're supposed to have certain shoes when you have a new gym?
You're talking about for PE and rules and whatnot. It'd be very similar to all Silver Trail, Foot Crimson, Foot Silver Trail. We're still going to be, it's still a classroom. So we'll protect it. The nice thing is our custodians, we do a refinish every year of the floor. So, but it's very exciting. As exciting, because lunch is, you can tell, lunch is very important to some of us. But anyways, these were the ovens. Remember, we bought 2, and we actually were almost, we do have 3, and we almost 3 for the price of 2. But the new ovens at Kuna High School, as nice as you can make a probe, if you've seen our portables, they're now complete. The skirting and the paint to make them matching a little bit better. One of the things that Kevin does, our maintenance supervisor, is he utilizes every staff that he can trick into working. This was done by a teacher who over the summer works, his summer job is for our maintenance. So he did the painting, he did the skirt work. This job's a little builder that happened this year. Was maybe next would be here, but the hallway carpet. Sometimes you don't know what happens behind the walls. This is one of the 2 HVAC replacements at Hubbard, if you wanted to see behind the walls.
Had to be custom.
Yeah, the old one was a little bit old and we had to fit it together. This is FMS's bleachers. I know one of the things that when you talk about bleachers, you think instantly of sports, but this is your assemblies, this is your class meetings, this is your orchestra, your band, your choir, your plays, all utilize those bleachers. So, I mean, it definitely is a multi-purpose room. But now, instead of pulling the wooden ones out at FMS, in quotes, our new scoreboard that's going up. Fremont Middle School. Remember that we had a nice donation at Kuna High School from Cap Ed, and they did the scoreboard there. So the new scoreboard is just the Kuna High scoreboard coming over and coming up here. It costs a little bit, obviously, to put it up and run electrical, but a lot less than buying a scoreboard. So when the basketball gets done inside, one of the scoreboards will be going to Kuna Middle. We don't throw away stuff here. KMS, same thing. If you've ever pulled out, pulling out the wooden bleachers isn't as tricky as trying to get them back in. But those bleachers have been upgraded and finished. If you remember, we did a KMS, the furniture. Remember the furniture didn't come till about 2 weeks into school. So we slowly, with our custodians and our security, traded out old for new. So that's all finished now. This is going to be finished, they promised. If you've ever gone to an event at Kuna Middle School, a volleyball game, a basketball game, the bathrooms definitely needed an upgrade as well as an ADA upgrade. So this is a picture, I think this is into the men. They didn't let me very close because they were working very hard. But that event bathroom, there'll be a new, both the men's and women's were upgraded, and where the concession was is now a single use restroom. Really, the amount of concerts, games that are played there, you tell your little 4-year-old to go to this restroom, you try to go to that one. Having that family bathroom will be very nice for all the games that are played at KMS. Like I said, all the money now has been, everyone that asked for bond money, I finally have to say no because there isn't any left. We're doing the technology classroom projector replacements, that safety and security PA systems, alarm systems, safety and security fencing additions and repairs. We do have some earmarked for reactionary deferred maintenance when the pipe goes at Reed Elementary and we have to replace. And lastly, this is one that's close, but I couldn't get on the roof to take a picture of that KMS HVAC replacement. But that was your spring and summer.
Very busy, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks, Jordan.
Okay. Moving right along to superintendent reports. Superintendent Nelson?
Chairman and trustees, I'm going to send that presentation to my dad. He is 84. He probably doesn't like me sharing that with all of you, but he went, my connection to Emmett, where my nieces and nephews and sisters and my brother lives, and he came to see a game at Fremont, and the bleachers were wonky, and he almost fell, and he turned to me and he said, somebody should fix that here. I will tell him about that. So thank you, Brian, for making sure my dad's okay when he comes to watch a game. So, Chairman and trustees, I am excited to share 2 things with you tonight. One is a really simple just explanation. Every year we have a theme for our staff and our team to kind of like set the tone of the year, what we're working on. It's been a variety of different things over the years. And we thought with all of the things that we have going on to improve learning and situations for students, our theme together this year is Together We Can. So we thought we could say together we can learn, together we can improve learning for students, together we can collaborate with parents, together we can work closely, it just works really nicely. And so I thought I would just share that with you, and I saw a little note there. We're going to use that to talk about how we can continue to implement our strategic plan as well. So together we can be positive for this school year in helping our kids and families and staff. As I shared at our last meeting, that's really important to keeping our staff. There's such a shortage nationally. So we're together, we're in it together. So that's that. And then I also wanted to give you just a short update on some of the work around the strategic plan. Every month we have some sort of update. And last month I shared some positive data about our staff in the form of the survey results and some things that we're working with. And I think I mentioned at that meeting that I want to get the band back together, the group that originally helped us design it, and we called it a guiding coalition. Coalition. So I'm going to talk through that just briefly and stop me if you have questions. So if you remember, I think it was May 2022 when you approved our strategic plan, and I believe it was Trustee Nixon who said several times this is a living document, it will change as we need it to change. And this year, really the focus of our work was to get ourselves organized and get projects launched in the pillars that we had 5. One of them that we continued to struggle with was our innovation and continuous improvement pillar. And people were like coming up with ideas, but it seemed like it was more work and it really wasn't something that would move our goals forward. So in one of our meetings, it was mentioned, isn't this more about who we are as an organization? We believe in innovation and continuous improvement rather than a project that we should be working on. And so the suggestion was made to move that to more of a value statement, and that continuous improvement and innovation would be included in all of the rest of the work that we have to do. So that was one of the changes that we made. This obviously is the same. What we want at the end of our strategic plan, the projects that we have working, what we want for our students and our community. And then we have an overarching guidepost as well as individual data points that, like I shared last month. So last year was our benchmarking year, last school year was our benchmarking year. And so we're going to use the data that Cynthia gave us input on what it is that you want to see as ways to judge if we're being effective or not. We've been looking at this data. We'll share that for last year, probably around October, November, because some of this information we don't get like on college enrollment, right? We use this student clearinghouse for that, and we don't get that report until around October, end of October. And then we don't get the year before, it's kind of a lagging piece of data. And some students are still taking some assessments this summer with CTE. So it'll be around October, November when we share that. Like, how do we do as our benchmark year? And so we can look at information together. So our 4 pillars: student learning, organizational strength, safe schools, and strong relationships. And then I talked at the beginning of this, most of our time last school year was around the work group, getting the work organized, getting projects launched that we believe will help us move our metrics forward for students. And we spent time identifying what those metrics were with your guidance. We believe it's time now to get the team together and what we're now referring to as a guiding coalition. And this is what we believe, or what I believe, is a combination of the work team and outside kind of experts and inside experts. So that original group that came together to design this. So this gives you a sense of what this year's work team leaders are, who they are. You see them a lot in meetings. They're leaders at the district level. And you'll hear reports from them in the coming months. But that this year we would launch the Guiding Coalition. And my hope is that many members of the original design team and Trustee Nixon served in that original design team would serve in a Guiding Coalition. And what my hope is from that group is that each month we meet, we tackle a pillar and the data that goes with that pillar, and we would look at it and see what we see together to make recommendations to move forward. So for example, I shared last month the survey data from our teachers, and it was really good, but there's still some things that we needed to work on. And so that Guiding Coalition, again, the people who designed the work originally, designed the focus originally, could give us, like, we think it would be helpful to do this, and we think this will move our success indicators forward. So that's my hope. I'm currently serving at the state level in a similar fashion with the state level plan, and I found it to be very insightful, and I'm like, this would be really helpful for us in CUNA. So replicating some of that here, but on a CUNA specific way. So that's my quick report. This is just a shout out to the original members of the team who helped us design it. So I'm going to be getting a hold of those people and saying, hey, help us. So hopefully trustee Wilson, you'll.
I would
join
love
us
to,
again.
yes.
Thank you. That's what I have. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the other reports, Kuna Early Learning Collaborative, Moody and Ginny. Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Grant, Trustee Thomas, Trustee Wilson, Trustee Johnson, Trustee Bruce. Thank you for giving us a few minutes to give you an update of Kuna Early Learning. Jeannie is in a zoning meeting with the city, and he said it's a touchy subject. So she said, don't expect me to be there. You can carry this through. So I'll give you a quick update on where we are in our Kuna Early Learning. As you know, Kuna Early Learning Collaborative is a collective impact composed of many members of the community, stakeholders, librarians, teachers, parents, grandparents. And the whole goal is to make all Kuna kids school ready. And we've been at it for 8 years now, 9 years, Superintendent Johnson spearheaded this, and when I retired 3 years ago, she tapped me and said, could you continue doing this? So here I am, I don't know how to retire. So last year we graduated 20 kids in our 4-year classroom. The year before that, during COVID, there were 16 of them. And the full IRI of those 16 kids were in the 60th percentile compared to some of the kids in the district that are in the 45th and the 55th percentile. So we are moving the needle very slowly. We have 4 pillars, talk about pillars in our Kuna Early Learning Collaborative. We support parents as the main caregivers and support making kids ready for school. We also support providers and daycare teachers so that they have the resources so that our kids are given the best opportunity to work, to improve in, so that they're school ready. And then we also help our students through the community preschool and then the community as a whole. If you were there at Kuna Days, we had a booth, we did a read aloud. Thank you, Chairman Grant, for doing the read aloud. And then we gave 200 books to families from birth to 8 years old. And families were just so happy getting those brand new, you know how books, brand new books smell? I mean, they were just so happy. We were chasing, moms in the strollers, we have a book for you. This big smile on their faces. So we have that, and then we also have our Get Ready to Learn parent training 3 times a year from birth to 5 years old. Parents from, it became a district-wide last year, so we have a coordinator that coordinated all the parent training in all the elementary schools, and it was a big success. We provided meals, we provided daycare, and feedback and toys and books for the parents to play with, to use at home. And then we provided provider training for all the teachers. They can take one in the spring, and now there's one coming up in the fall. And then for the community, we always try to be involved in as much as possible, providing resources for the community. So, we're there. Thank you for being an active partner. I mean, you could not have done this without the Kuna School District pushing us, and Wendy always says, okay, what else can we do? We gotta move that needle. So we're trying our best, with a group, very active group of volunteers to move the needle so all our kids are ready, and then we don't have special ed numbers arming up because we have school-ready kids. So we've got a little video that AYEC provided for us, and you're gonna, okay. And thank you so much for your questions.
Families and early education professionals to ensure every child thrives. With a focus on building community and raising young leaders, Kuna's children benefit from early childhood programs and family engagement activities, preparing them for success in all phases of life.
Our dream was always to have some sort of high-quality preschool. About 8 years ago, we put together the Kuna Early Collaborative. We are a collaborative of professionals, community members, teachers in the Kuna community, and we help parents and community members and kids get ready for kindergarten.
There's so many working parents these days that needed childcare, but also needed quality preschool.
Our job is to educate not only the children in our preschool, but also the parents in the community of what's important to be able to be successful in kindergarten.
I realized that there were fundamental elements of how language development really works
that were just missing in my worldview. So as much as like as a parent and with a lot of education, but they were just things that I didn't know. We knew we needed to do something different for our community, for our parents and grandparents and people that are helping to raise children.
I know my teachers at school have been really thrilled about this program too, because they're the next step on the line, and they want to do whatever they can. Our teachers here are very, very passionate and care about their students so much.
It's not just kids from this socioeconomic level that get this access, but that all of our kids get access. And that everyone gets this high quality education, because all the kids deserve that high quality education, because once they go into the community, we all deserve to be around like prepared individuals.
Teaching K through 2 for the last 25 years, you can definitely tell the kids that have gone to a preschool or have had exposure to those pre-kindergarten skills. And you can tell the ones that haven't. The ones that haven't have a really hard time during the day. They get very frustrated because everything is new, everything is different. And those kids that have been exposed to it and are ready for kindergarten, they're excited about learning.
The change in my child was profound. She was like calmer, and the routines and the structures and making friends. She's not bored. She's appropriately challenged. She's learning. When we partner with families, when we partner with community partners, we're just going to be a stronger community. So my dream is that every child will come to us ready. We know the parents already because we had some sort of connection. It wasn't like this big event coming to kindergarten. It was like it'd be like a natural transition because we knew them, right? Before they came. We met the parents through trainings that we were connected to, through preschool experiences that we were a part of. And I get to see those kids all the way through until they're ready to go to college, to enter the workforce, to get further certifications, to take over for my job someday. These kids are going to do fantastic things. I want every parent to feel as good as I do about sending their kids to school and knowing what those experiences are going to be and feeling as empowered as a parent.
I understand that not everybody wants their child to go to preschool. What I want to see is those parents who want their child to have preschool before kindergarten to be able to have that opportunity.
What I know to be true is that when a community, when a state, when a nation invests in a child, they're investing in their future. And it is something that we have to do if we truly care about our communities, if we truly care about our state, and if we care about our country. We must invest in our children.
Because when we all help together, we know the community benefits. We will help kids that are finishing school, that are moving on to college or to other vocational endeavor, and coming back and hopefully becoming responsible members of the Kuna communities.
I want this, what we have, for everybody.
Young children in Kuna are supported in learning while building skills that will last a lifetime.
I have a comment, thank you, and I hope we can open it up more and more to more families.
We would love a trustee member in our collaborative.
I just retired, you know. Me too, I just retired. I would do that, yeah. I would love to. Oh, thank you. Yeah, all right. I can't wait to visit again.
Oh, so fun to come and play with the kids.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
We're lucky to have you, Louie. Thank you.
Yes,
Yes. I don't know how to retire, that one thing is telling me.
Make sure you tell,
Your passion.
make sure you tell Jenny we said thank you very much.
Yes.
Nice work. Okay, there's nothing on the consent agenda that we need to take out. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as is.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, delegations. Kristen Giovanni, is that right? Did I say it right? So just so everybody knows, with delegations, there's no decisions that are made tonight, but we can give you, and we can give you 3 minutes to address the board.
I know it's kind of a question, but I know that you guys can answer. But first of all, I want to say I'm one of the subs for Ludi at the church at my place preschool. And I've worked many years in California as a full-time pre-K teacher and a lot of the preschools here in the Valley. And by far, what she's doing over there is the best I've ever seen. Like with Miss Anna and Ludi, it's amazing preschool. What I want to talk about is not so exciting, but I know that whatever was passed July 1st as far as people with biological sex using different restrooms, they're not allowed to, as far as I know anymore. My daughter actually made me aware of this last week, that she was in the restroom at the high school, and a senior male came in after her, and she has anxiety and didn't know what to do, and we were kind of going through how that looked, what happened, and she, like, every second felt like an hour to her. Like, she described everything that happened. Nothing happened, but just being in there, waiting in the stall, trying to take care of what she needed to take care of, waiting for this person to leave. There was no duties, there was no teachers outside to call on, or she didn't feel like she should even go to the office and report it or say anything because it was allowed. So as far as I'm understanding, like, this, trying to read this is not my type of stuff. I don't know exactly how to read this. As far as I know, July 1st, that's not accepted anymore. That's not going to be a thing. I just want to make sure, I got 3 daughters in the school system, that they're going to be able to be safe. I know everyone has their own rights or what have you, but I just want to know, and I know you can't answer this right now, but I just want to know that my daughters, when my daughters, all 3 of them, right, when school starts, when they go to the women's restroom, that they're not going to be in situations like that ever again. And what are their rights as far as if it does happen, to go to the office and report it? Because, like, I asked my daughter the same thing. Why didn't she go to the office? She's like, are you kidding me? She's like, people can just do whatever they want. I would just like a tattletale, or, high school, I'd be a rat or something. And then she'd get more flack from the students in the school than she would support and help from the staff. So I know you guys can't answer my questions, but it's a real thing happening all the time. And I just want to know, like, okay, even if we as, you guys as school educators, the teachers, we're all aware, men use the men's restroom, women use women's restroom, how is that going to get enforced? That's kind of my thing. It's like, are the students going to be made aware of this? Because as far as I know at the high school, these students, and I'm around a lot of teenagers, they just kind of feel like they can just do what they want, and they can't complain. People have a problem with it because everybody just kind of does what they want. So that's what I came here to speak of. I know you guys can talk about it later, but thank you.
Susan Thompson.
I have a prop, and you're probably wondering, what is this lady doing carrying menstrual products? But bear with me and I'll explain. Good evening, board members and guests. My name is Susan Thompson, and I'm a proud CUNA alumni, class of 1972. I'm a CUNA farm girl, born and raised. We held our 50-year class reunion last year and took pictures in the old school gym on 4th Street. And had our picnic at the CUNA Park. CUNA is near and dear to my heart. I'm also a proud member of Days for Girls, an international nonprofit that makes washable, sustainable menstrual kits for girls and women all over the world. We've distributed over 2.9 million kits in over 150 countries, keeping girls in school and women in the workforce. When COVID hit and we could not ship kits internationally, our Boise team started to concentrate locally on addressing period poverty, which is the lack of access of menstrual supplies. What we discovered is that it is not just an issue in Afghanistan or Africa or Syria or South America. It exists right here in our valley, and it crosses all socioeconomic boundaries. We also discovered that if a girl started her period at school and did not have menstrual supplies, she went to the school nurse for product. That means getting out of class, going to the nurse, waiting in line to be seen, accessing the nurse's bathroom and going to another bathroom, taking care of your period and then going to class. or maybe not. Maybe having to call a parent to come and get you because you have cramps or have bled through your clothes. We do not think that's right. Our team started pilot programs to provide menstrual supplies in the girls' bathrooms. And since fall of 2022, we conducted programs in 13 schools, 47 bathrooms across Canyon and 80 counties. And I'm proud to say our team donated 13 containers of product to 4 middle and high schools for the Kuna pilot program. We were a little prejudiced on that, which was very successful. We're now in the process of signing up schools for the fall school season, and we're not stopping there. Menstruation is a basic bodily function for every girl, starting at about the age of 12 or younger and getting younger, believe it or not. It's not something we can predict or delay to a more convenient time. It's not a choice. Menstrual health is a topic that is often stigmatized and ignored. Well, not anymore. The average cost to provide period products per female student, according to Idaho statistics, is $3.50 per student. Isn't that a minimal cost to keep our girls in school? Provide them with a full education and make sure they do not miss any class time. Make sure they're healthy and taken care of. Can I have just a little bit more time? 1 minute more. Make sure the district is receiving ADA monies to fund our schools by keeping them in class and school. Statistically, 86% of girls and women have started their periods when they don't have access to menstrual supplies. And we found the same statistics hold true for schoolgirls. 86% covers a wide spectrum of socioeconomic levels, meaning that period products are not just for poor or struggling girls.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Jen. I know and I appreciate the information that you're bringing, but we have to be consistent. So if we give you more time, we have to give some other people more time too.
Okay, I tried to cut it down.
Susan, if you leave, do you feel comfortable leaving your message with us?
Thank you.
I can put it in the communication.
Yes, I just had 2 more paragraphs. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Okay, let's see. So moving on to unfinished business, discussion about updating the school district's capital plan. Financial advisor Michael Keith was Lions Bank, and Eric Piper Sandler.
Hide over there in the corner.
Just Michael this time.
Okay.
How are you guys?
Good, you're in
person.
It's exciting.
I know, usually you're on Zoom there.
Do you have it?
Yeah. Well, good evening. As you know, about this time of year, usually we kind of come and talk to the board about capital planning that we've kind of been doing with staff and administration. And, you know, certainly this, you know, kind of the new time we're heading into certification. You've had kind of budget discussions already with Merit and where budgets are at. Information starting to kind of trickle in about market values, capital planning, and as we kind of head into certification, we kind of wanted to talk through kind of a decision before the board in terms of kind of what that certification looks like, especially kind of in light of House Bill 292, right, that was passed this last legislative session. So I kind of want to talk about that as well and how that impacts levies and bonds for the district. So I kind of want to walk through that information this evening. So I always like to start out with kind of the 30,000-foot view in terms of kind of what your debt looks like currently. So right now the district has 4 bonds outstanding currently. We've got Series 2014, which will pay off in 2024, so next year. We've got the 2016, right, which is a refinancing of your 08 and 09s. And those will pay off in 2027. And actually, this needs to be updated. This will be paid off in 2033 currently. The 17Bs and the 17As, which is, of course, your newest bonds that you guys passed. So as it stands right now, the district has about $33 million outstanding in debt. And this has been reduced significantly over time, right, because the district's taken these steps you see below, right, to pay down its debt quicker, and which has provided significant, you know, tax savings to taxpayers. So between August 19th or between 2019 and 2022, the district has defeased bonds 4 times, so a total of $14 million of debt that's been paid off in principal, which has resulted in about $5.5 million of tax savings. So that's interest costs that, taxpayers won't have to pay because the district has paid down its debt, and which continues to reduce, of course, the debt that's outstanding from a burden perspective. When we look at how that looks from a tax rate perspective, we've talked about this before. We had kind of the spike right in 2013, largely driven by the 2008 financial crisis. And the district has been on a downward, steady, I would say, pretty steady move lower in tax rates. Kind of from 17 to 19, there was a little bit more stability in market values, and the district had targeting a tax rate of $5 per 1,000. But as market values started to increase and eventually increase significantly, the district has brought its tax rate down as a result of that, and also as a result of paying off debt. So as it stands right now, the district's tax rate is at about $205 per 1,000. So it's pretty low. It's the lowest it's been in the last 20 years. So from a structure standpoint, this is what the debt looks like, right? So as we kind of move through 2023 and into 2024, we continue to kind of pay this debt off. This is right now the room under the levy. The district's kind of shifted gears a little bit away from tax rate to help with some of those lowering taxes. And we've kind of moved to about an $8.25 million target, right, from a levy perspective. Which helps with a couple things, right? It has helped pay down debt, but it's also kind of give that forward view, right? That we know that there are some capital needs that are still coming. The district attempted a bond, which didn't pass, unfortunately, but so we know there's things that are coming, right? And so the district is trying to prepare itself for those with the view of how do we manage taxes, right? How do we manage taxes for taxpayers that are currently paying into the system? And how do we also pay for growth that's coming at the same time? And so this is kind of a snapshot. Again, you can kind of see that your current debt will pay off in 2033. And if you were to kind of look at what your debt profile was like, your maturity would have been 2036. So we've already paid off 3 to 3.5 years of debt with that savings as a result of it. So now inserts the picture of House Bill 292. So one of the goals of our legislature this last legislative session was how do we continue to kind of help districts, help cities, help counties, right, lower taxes because we've seen property values go up so quickly and so rapidly across the state. I would say if you were to look at the history in 2008 when we saw property values from probably about 03, 04 to 2008, there were pockets, right, within the state that were going up. This last kind of run up in market values, and I think what's really kind of caught the attention of legislatures is it's been pretty much stabilized, right? And we've seen this significant increase in market values because we've seen a shift in how people work and live, right, and where they can live. And so that's kind of changed the dynamics pretty significantly in the state. So to help combat that, they passed House Bill 292, right, which is to provide funds specifically sent to primarily school districts. There are some other tax relief funds in there as well, but the primary target was school levies, and in particular, bond and supplemental levies were what targeted underneath this. And so for the first year, it was kind of different sources of funds, right? There's a longer term funding for this, which is going to be a sales tax distribution, similar to what cities and counties get to pay for this program ongoing. But to kind of get it off the ground, the state kind of cobbled together multiple funds, which came from the general fund surplus eliminator, a tax rebate fund, a tax relief fund, and a sales tax fund to kind of fund this round of sales tax. Again, the idea being that first was to pay down the school bonds, right? So the funds that you receive this fall, in August, or late August, early September, will be used to go on your L2 to offset, right, the bond levy that the district is currently having. So we talked about that at $8,250,000. That'll help to offset that levy. We'll kind of talk about what that means for the district. The other thing that the second levy that it would have gone for would have been a supplemental, but you just don't have a supplemental, at least not this year, that you'll be utilizing. Third is to save for future construction needs. So once you've paid off all your debt, right, and you don't have a supplemental levy, then you can utilize the funds to put back for future bonds. Now, the one thing that is a little unclear is how you go from saving for future construction needs to using it for new bonds. I think that needs some clarification at some point, but it does provide for the use to offset future bond levies on this. This other bullet needs information from KSD Tax Commission. We've gotten a fair amount of guidance over the last few weeks. We just got payments sent out, I think it was yesterday, in terms of what you received. So we're getting closer to that. But again, I think there's still some technical fixes that need to happen in this bill. I mean, it was put together at the end of the legislative session. It was put together relatively quickly for the type of bill that it was.
To no input. Yeah.
With little to no input. And so, there's no doubt there's going to be some, figuring this out as we go. And I fully expect that as this gets implemented and we see how things look this year, that we'll have to do some technical fixes going into, next year, for sure on this. And I think the idea is that this kind of helps provide ongoing tax relief. So it's not just this year, although the biggest chunk will be this year, right? And we'll see a different number next year. But, again, they have identified an ongoing source of funds, to keep this going. So what does that mean for us this year? So now it's kind of a reflection of a decision point for the district and kind of, how we want to approach levies, going into this year. And part of that stems from two things. One, kind of utilization that, hey, look, we've continued to kind of manage debt. We've kind of managed under this levy, which has provided some additional funds to pay off debt this year, and we'll talk about that underneath the 21-month levy. And so because of that, that means there's a balance of about $4 million, about 3.9 that can be utilized once again this year if the district chooses to pay down its debt. And so the kind of decision point is, what do we want to do with that 3.9 million? So with your cash balance as it stands, which is $5 million in total, some you'll want to keep in reserves. If the district said, hey, look, we don't want to do anything in terms of paying down debt with our bond fund balance, the calculation looks a little bit like this, which means that the max you could levy is 9.6. If you, with a $5 million cash balance in your bond fund and expected about $234,000 in levy utilization, which is the other state funds that are provided to offset for debt, the expected bond levy this year would be about 4.3 max that you could levy. So about half of what you're doing this, or has previously done. This was before we knew what the number was, but we had projected 1.8 million. It's actually going to be closer to 2.15 million in funds from House Bill 292. But at 1.8 reduction, your bond levy would have been about 2.5 this year if you decide to do nothing with the cash balance in the bond fund. If you look at current market value information, what that means from a tax rate perspective, your tax rate would be about just under 50 cents per 1,000 this year. You were at 205, as we said last year, so about a reduction of 157 under kind of a do-nothing scenario. Now, the thing to recognize about the do-nothing scenario is that, of course, once that gets cleared out, right, we clear out the bond fund, then it has to go back up next year, right? Because we'd be under levy. We'd just be utilizing bond fund balance to do that and clearing that out, and then your bond levy would have to go go back up next year to cover your bond payment. The other option is to do what the district has done in the past, which is instead bring the levy down, but also pay off some debt. And under that scenario, what it looks like is utilizing about $3.9 million to pay down debt. Assuming that we kind of maintain that same bond levy that we have in the past of about $8,250,000, with the offset, again, assuming a $1.8 million would get you to about a $6.45 million bond levy this year. And so there'd still be the tax relief, right, that has been looked for from the legislature on top of, right, you're not levying a supplemental levy this year, which means you would be at a tax levy of about $121 this year compared to 48 cents. And that one is sustainable, right? You can stay at that level, assuming, you know, get a similar level of support from the state going forward for from House Bill 292, which is still about an 84-cent drop, right, from a tax reduction for the bonds. And this would be kind of keeping within line with what the district has done, and it means that your debt gets shorter, right? That we continue to kind of pay off, and that there would be savings available from that.
So, I have a question. And I'm not sure, there may be limitations, there may be things that would prevent us from doing this, but hypothetically, what if we kept it at 8.25 and then used the HB 292 funds for 1.8? Would we be able to put even more into a defeasance and pay it off quicker? Because the sooner we can get to, you know, our taxpayers told us in March that they weren't comfortable with this. And I guess I just want to at least float the idea that the sooner we pay that off or pay that down, you know, maybe the better position that we might be in as far as doing something else. Is that a possibility at all, or is that not a possibility based on limitations?
I think it's tricky with the limitations that have been put on by House Bill 292. I mean, the intent of that is to be a tax reduction this year, and so I think there'll be some kind of watchful eyes in the legislature to see that that's happening.
But if our levy rate goes down, isn't that a tax reduction? And if we pay it off sooner, isn't that a tax reduction?
300%. 300% that if you pay off sooner, that is effectively a tax reduction, right? That's funds that would have otherwise been levied that won't get levied in the future. I think what's a couple things. One, there would be a limitation on how high you could go anyways, right, with the 21 month. Like we're hitting up against that, which is going to be at 9.6. So net, you're not going to get to 8.2 no matter what on this. And actually the number is about 2.1 this year instead of that. I think the thing to keep in mind with this is that we still pay a lot off, and for now, right, the 21 month is still available to you going into next year, and so you can still maintain, right, that tax levy and have some collections to kind of continue to do that, you know, next year. I think the nice thing about this plan is it buys the district another year to figure out what's that next step, right? We were going to go for a bond, well, we did go for a bond, it didn't pass. We know now that you no longer have a March election, right? That was one of the deals, right, when this House Bill 292 got put together, that the March election goes away. And so I think there are some opportunities going into next year that if the desire of the district is to just pay off its debt, right, before it wants to consider another bond, which of course that's a decision for the board, then I think we can look at some tools going into next year, which would accelerate the debt, you know, significantly. I think there was some reluctance to do that, you know, this year because I think the district is still in kind of a fact-finding mode in terms of, you know, kind of the why behind the bond, you know, didn't pass. And so this is kind of that happy medium where we still get to execute, right, and pay debt shorter, which, you know, this, by taking about 3.9 million out this year, it pushes you to, you know, 2032 on, you know, when the bonds would pay off. So you're only, about 8.5 years out at that point from that happening. We do have, you know, we do have some limitations on how quickly we can pay this off, because we have this call date here, right? And so the quickest we could get this paid off would be in 2027. Right? And so we're only about, with a defeasance this year, about 5 years away from that. But I think, kind of back to your question, Trustee Johnson, I think with how they've kind of written this bill, I think it would be tricky for the district to take more than 8.25 this year.
Okay. I mean, it just, you look at that levy rate keep going down. I mean, it depends on how you define tax reduction, I guess, because, you know, if we had stayed at 5, which is what our goal was for several years there, I mean, people have had significant tax reduction in the past.
Yeah, and I think, you know, sometimes you got to put that in perspective too. Like, 5 was at a significantly lower tax base.
I totally understand.
And 5 wouldn't have been sustainable anyways with the debt that you guys have on the books. Like you would have put down. Now, the thing to recognize about the tax rate portion of this, right? This doesn't reflect that market values are going to go down this year. We don't know how much, but we know that they're going to go down, right? And so this 121 is, from a tax rate perspective, is likely going to be a little higher. You know, I think even a 10% drop, right? You're probably going to be in the 130s or 140s. I think, you know, at the end of the day, the point is like, well, but you're still getting $8,254,000 for the bonds, right, at the end of the day on this. So I think as we kind of work through this, we head kind of into next year. One of the things to, I guess, kind of know from this legislative session is that there was a bill that was floated, did not pass, that would have significantly eliminated the 21-month as well, in terms of your ability to do what you're doing now. That bill may or may not come back. I don't know with what House Bill 292 passing, if they feel like they've got the tax relief that they want from that, and that they'll not bring that bill back next year, but that is out there. But I do think that there's some opportunities if as, again, the district kind of works through what that capital plan should look like and the timing of that capital plan. And then I think we can kind of come back around to what should we do with your existing debt, and should we just accelerate it and pay it off? That option's still there.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So if the district chooses tonight, as a board of trustees, to move forward with the defeasance, this is what it would look like. So the district would expend approximately $3.9 million of its excess bond fund money and transfer it to an escrow designed as corporate trust later this month to pay off bonds. There's a cost of approximately about $18,500. That's just legal documents, numbers, and all the things that go into setting up the defeasance correctly, so that we're paying off the appropriate bonds. As in the past, we would invest those funds in U.S. Treasuries, right? So they get set aside, you purchase securities, those securities are held until the call date, right? And then the bonds go away completely from investors. And that investor call date is March 15th of 2027. And with that $3.9 million, what it gets you is a reduction of about another $3.6 million in principal. Some of that, of course, still has to go to pay the accrued interest to the investor until the call date. But it would reduce your debt service by $5.2 million for additional savings over what we already talked about, almost $1.4 million.
So what does defeasance escrow mean?
So defeasance escrow means it's much like your mortgage escrow for your taxes, right? So if you're paying a mortgage, they collect so much from you each month, right? Which gets set aside in an escrow, and it sits there until your tax bill is due. Same concept here, right? So you have this this is your kind of your tax due date, so to speak, right? So this is the call date that the investors can be paid off, so that those funds will just sit there until that call date.
And these funds can only be used to pay that off.
Correct. Can't do anything else with it. So structurally, what that would look like is the district would be targeting the 33 and 32 maturities. So you pay down the rest of the 33s, which is $1,260,000 left on those. Pay an additional about $2,340,000 up to the 32s, and then structurally, this is what it looks like. So you almost have all the 32s gone at that point. You'd be almost to a 2031 final maturity at that point with that. From a timeline perspective, if the district chooses to move forward, there is a resolution that's in your packet for your consideration this evening. I believe it's next on the agenda item. If we move forward, we would go on Thursday, the 10th. We would finalize the amount, we get the fees. We would purchase those securities, get that locked in. District would transfer bonds on the 23rd. We close out the defeasance on the 24th from a timing perspective. And I know that Chelsea had actually emailed me she's not able to make it this evening. So if there's any questions about the defeasance resolution, I can certainly help answer some of those as well.
I know she's summarized it in the past, so.
Any other questions on that?
So we're going to go over that next.
Yes, the defeasance resolution is next. So we can kind of talk about that. Okay. So you guys want to move on to the next item?
I don't think this is a good idea, so we keep going.
Well, we need to hear it first to decide.
Yeah.
So that's what it would look like in execution. and then there's
Execution
the
now, we're
legal
going to
document.
execute it. This is legal terms. So that's, I didn't know if you wanted to discuss it now or later. Doesn't matter.
Do you want to discuss it?
I say go ahead. So we got the big picture.
Okay. So shifting gears from that, so the defeasance resolution that you have before you essentially gives permission to the administration to go forward on this and execute on the defeasance. The parameters around that would be that it would not be any more than $3.9 million. They would move over from the bond fund to defease the bonds. It also authorizes the district to enter in the escrow agreement, right, with the trustee to sign and transfer cash and purchase those securities as a result of the escrow. And effectively just, it's pretty kind of straightforward. There would be an agreement. It also approves the administration entering into kind of an escrow agreement with an escrow agent, which would be Zion's Bank, our corporate trust department that the district has worked through. And from a mechanic standpoint, if the district kind of chooses to approve that this evening, then Chelsea Porter would continue to make the documents. She would prepare the escrow agreement on the district's behalf, work with the administration to get that signed by it's just giving authority to the administration to sign that and execute that escrow agreement and transfer the funds on the 23rd.
I don't see any negative against this, in my opinion. It's just like Russ said, the quicker we can pay this down, the better.
We know we're going to have to bond sometime shortly.
Yeah.
And with all the people moving in, so I get that. It sounds like the legislature set it up a certain way that we really don't have a lot of wiggle room. So, yeah. I mean, we are saving the taxpayers 1.3, was it 1.3?
Which is almost 7 million over the last 5 years.
I mean, I would think people would be happy with that. I mean, it would help us if we went to bond, I think, to say, wait, we've paid it down. And we'd have more people moving in. I mean, I think we're doing our duty by being fiscally responsible here. So, yeah. I guess, I'm good. On how you guys feel.
I don't think it makes sense to have our levy rate go so low that, because I think we're also putting ourselves in the future into a little bit of a situation there, and I would rather save the taxpayers a lot of money on interest and also potentially give us some more flexibility, because the closer that gets to paying it off, then our bond in the future isn't going to pay for past bonds, or our levy that we collect is not going to pay for past bonds, it's going to pay for the future bonds, or more of it, a higher percentage of it is going to pay that future bond as well. So I think it makes sense, and I think we should do that. So, I mean, if anything, if we could be more aggressive, I would probably be in favor of being more aggressive. But if this is the best we can do, then I accept that. And I think that's the way we should go.
So you need to make
The only issue, like being the devil's advocate, I mean, obviously, this makes sense, and this is probably what we need to do. But your tax rate is gonna go down to 0.5, and then if we try to run a levy, that tax rate is gonna go back up. I'm sorry, if we run a bond.
it's gonna go back on.
Well,
I don't
there's
see
other
no-
factors on that.
Yeah.
At least it's payable.
Yeah, we still save, we're still saving them money. And I guess we need to take a look at that when we cross that bridge, and maybe there's some other financing things we need to help that, but.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Or actually,
Make a motion on the resolution.
Yeah, it's the resolution. Is that your motion? Yeah, I'll note that we approve the resolution providing for the defeasance of a portion of the district's 2017 B general obligation bonds as outlined in the agenda.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, Kirsty? Russ?
Aye.
Kim?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thanks.
Good work.
Thank you.
guys. You're good to work on that bridge.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
I know that ISBA Student Convention is going to be talking about all of this, and so it would probably be a good session for trustees to learn more and maybe give input to legislators on the new laws.
Yeah.
Okay, so, now we can skip number 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to child nutrition, update on outstanding bills. CFO Heather?
Chairman Grant, trustees, I have Director Swanson with me here as well in case if you have any questions. And last month, we shared some information with you that we're going to close the school year with $180,000 in unpaid bills from child nutrition program. So this is an update on our action plan. So first, our plan, how we're going to recover the cost. This month in August, we're going to send a very friendly reminder to all households with balances of $50 or more per student. And pretty much we're just gonna ask, did you even know that you had a balance? Because not everybody signed up for electronic notifications. Not everybody's using email. Maybe they just didn't know. So, and it's gonna be, this is how you can check your balances, this is how you can pay. You can pay online with just a couple clicks. You can drive by and drop off cash or check. We'll take anything. So, and we will also say, please, 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 if you cannot pay your balance, call us so we can schedule payments. So then, and I'm still going to research Idaho code. So I believe at some point we have to show evidence that we send regular, like, paper postal mail at least once. So the first batch is we're just gonna send out envelopes to everyone and emails as well. So the second batch, I'm hoping that we can actually send electronically, and it's gonna be the week of September 14th or 30 days from the first letter. And over there, we're gonna say, hey, now that you know that you have a balance, we haven't heard from you, please pay, please go schedule payments. how you can pay as well. It could be online, you can drop off payment at any time. And then 30 days from the second letter, sometime in October, it's going to be, I would call it a more for notification, where we'll say, hey, we haven't heard from you. If we don't hear from you from this date, unfortunately, we're going to send it to the collection agency, and you will have to work directly with them. So unless we heard from a household where they schedule payments, even if it's over 2 years, as long as there is an attempt, sometime in November, October, November, it will be, we will calculate the exact dates from the third letter. We will send accounts to the collection agency, and they will take over from that point. So hopefully we will get to that point. Hopefully we can settle things in here. And what are we going to do now? What is our communication approach? What we noticed, the observation, not everybody likes technology, or all these apps, notifications. Sometimes, we have a lot of households, they don't use emails or electronic notifications. They just drive by and drop off some cash or check. So what we're going to do, of course, everybody will have an opportunity to sign up with the new system. It's a formatted system. Right now it's called Link, so they can get notifications quickly. But if we have any families that do not like signing up for any technology, we have a plan to notify them via Blackboard, so they will be just getting text messages or emails, whatever form of communication we can find on Blackboard. So the plan is, at some point, everybody should know their balance, whether they sign up for notifications or not. So hopefully that will help. And we're accepting donations now. Please forward this link to everyone. So we're going to have it on our front page. And if we just receive a donation without any specific restrictions, we're just going to reduce all balances proportionally, whether it's $5 or $5,000. Now, if we have specific instructions for a certain student or a family or a building, we will, of course, honor the instructions. And we're here for any questions or suggestions that you have.
No, I was just really shocked with the amount of money. I like the plan, and I like the idea. I'd like to put on my newsletter the link, so people can pay as much as we can and get out to the community, even in the business community, and let them know there's some people. I mean, it's not exactly a GoFundMe page, but something to let people know that, that we are $180,000 in the hole from lunches, and could you give something, types of things. So, but anyway, I like what you guys have done.
Is it reduced at all over the summer or not?
Not yet. I think families are still in the summer mode. Nobody's checking anything. I'm hoping we're going to get some results in August when everybody's back in the school mode.
So what collection agency do we use then? Is that just one that you'll find?
Oh,
that's further down the road.
Do you remember their name?
CDI. Okay.
CDI.
They've done this before with last year.
Yes. Thank you.
I mean, should an invoice or statement be with their registration packet when they come in to register?
That's a good idea.
If they're behind.
Yeah, we can do that as well.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a really good idea.
How do we stop this? How to stop this in the future so that we don't have.
I talked to some of my colleagues in other school districts, and lunch was free, and breakfast for multiple years during COVID, covered by the feds. Nothing's free, but students didn't have to pay for it, right? And everybody, all my colleagues, at least in the Church Valley that I spoke to, have increased balances, and maybe think it's that transition from not having paid to paid. And there's also some speculation about the amount to qualify for free or reduced lunch hadn't kept up with inflation, and there was a recent change, I believe, that was made, so that maybe some people who are having a hard time making the payments might qualify qualify for reduced amount or free amount now.
Is that something Val's planning on doing at registration these coming weeks?
Yes.
Is having places where people can sign up for that haven't?
Yes, we'll have staff at all of our open houses, including the high school registration. We'll have all the information there for them to sign up for LINK or through the district app, the free and reduced applications, all that information.
Okay.
Is there any way to have that like in the link app or like somewhere where they might see it when they sign up for lunch or something?
Yeah, they should be able to see it in real time, what's owed, right, in the app. And then as Elmira shared, other methods of communication to letter, through Blackboard, or regular texting, that sort of thing, so.
And then since we're using My School Bucks, does any money that was in there get transferred?
It does.
Okay.
Working on that now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully this will be easier for families, is what we're hoping.
Thank you for your time, and I like this idea.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, consider appointment of elementary teacher alternate on policy committee. Director Graves?
You're looking at people are running. Did I get up and leave? Trustees, we started a policy committee a couple months ago, and this is the first time we've had somebody on our policy committee not be able to continue in their placement. Mrs. Randall was our elementary teacher rep, and Mrs. Randall is now our vice principal at Reed Elementary School. So you guys, when you chose the teachers, you did an alternate at the elementary level. We have asked that alternate if they're interested. They said yes. They came and observed us yesterday. So I'm here today to ask you to consider moving that alternate to the now teacher rep for the next meeting, August 28th.
Who was the alternate? I don't remember.
I can tell you guys, when you guys picked, you didn't know their names.
Yeah, we didn't
So I didn't know
know
if you guys.
numbers.
You want me to-
We just had.
We know that.
We know that.
You two do, yeah.
So is someone going to take the alternate's place?
That, we didn't pick another alternate, so
Okay.
then we could bring, if you guys would like, we can bring out applications or ask for new applications for the alternate spot.
I think we should. How do you feel?
Why don't we,
Maybe not now, but,
I would say we do it if we need to.
so you don't think you need to have an alternate in the wings then? In case something comes up?
I think we're gonna have to reconsider this in December or January anyway, and so I think we're
Okay.
probably all right through this semester, and then we can kind of
Okay.
reconsider how.
I'm gonna go with your experience on that, since you're on it.
And I could definitely let you guys know, I don't, you guys tell me if you want me to let.
Can I just say one thing? I think we should stop referring to it as the policy committee. I think it should be the policy advisory committee.
Yeah.
Because this is the policy committee right here. And so I think we should probably, whether we need to do that formally or whether we just start changing the way we refer to it, I think we need to do that.
I think we might have to do it formally, because when we created it, we did it formally, so I think we have to formally do
Maybe we get
that
that on the agenda
for next year.
Yeah, and actually I have a policy on the policy advisory committee, so that helps us with the guidance. We don't have to come to you every single time for things.
Okay.
Unless you want that, right?
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the alternate to the policy committee, policy advisory committee?
I'll make a motion that we move the alternate for the elementary staff representative to move into the formal group.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
All in favor? Kirsten?
Aye.
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 Joey? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so second reading, policy 1002, parental involvement in education process. Director Graves?
Yeah, unlike the other ones that were second reading were in consent, this one, you all asked that we have the definitions be added for joint custody, joint legal custody, joint physical custody, primary physical custody, and non-custodial parent, the legal definitions. So those have been added to the beginning of the policy. Yesterday at our meeting, it was noticed that we still have the note to add the definitions in here, so we'll obviously get that fixed for third read. But those definitions are now listed for you. So this was a change from the first read. That was the only change that was made, as per your guys' request.
Okay.
Yeah, I liked it, and I think it took care of some of the questions I had last board meeting, so I think it allows those non-custodial or custodial parents rights to their kids. So I was happy.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve policy 1002 as set forth, except just striking out where it still has defined legal custody somewhere in this section. Just striking.
We'll get this updated for part three.
But other than that, as set forth.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, Kirsty?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
Kim?
Aye.
Joy?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so new business. Continuing to improve as a school board. Vice Chairman Thomas?
Yeah, so as you know, I serve on the Idaho School Board Association's executive board, and as that, I see a lot of training that's being done. I also I contract with them to teach other boards. And I feel like our board sometimes forgets that if we're the models of what we want our kids to do, and if we want our kids and expect them to continue to improve and to get those test scores up and such, I think we need to improve and learn. So what I'm going to propose is that we haven't done this in several years, and I think it's time to do it again, which is a self-assessment of the board. And so I have a self-assessment that I'll send out to everybody. If you please respond to it, and then from that information that I get from each of you, and look at it as a whole, I'll be able to come back next meeting and maybe suggest a few things that we could work on, how we could work on those, and improve our knowledge of how to run a school board and be effective. So I just wanted to let you know that survey or that self-assessment will be coming via email. Check your emails and take the survey as soon as possible so that I can do come back with some good suggestions.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
I guess how is this survey going to be used, or what?
So if you read your Slate magazine this last time it came out,
Let's just pretend I didn't.
Okay. The Idaho School Board Association has some pillars, just like we do. And they laid out the different benchmarks that they're going to judge themselves by, and how boards should ultimately judge themselves. And so this survey is based off of that, and that information will only be seen by us. It's just a self-assessment of what we feel like, where we are as a board. And that will help me know which areas we may benefit from, whether it's training from ISBA or it's a book study. But I will be able to come back with some alternates, some different possibilities for us to learn and grow as a board.
Our answer's going to be anonymous?
Yes, they will. I'll know how many, I know how many are coming back in, or others. If I don't have them, I'm gonna start hunting people down.
Okay.
But that should be coming to you probably mid-next week.
All right. Thanks.
Yep.
Consider bus routes and walk zones for the 23-24 school year. Manager Saxon?
Yes,
Thanks for
Chairman
waiting all this
Grant,
time.
trustees, we asked for the approval for the bus routes, walk zones. They were recently reviewed and gone over, and we've only added one extra bus into Silver Trail this year, so maintaining about what we have, which we're pretty happy about that, to keep the costs down. It's kind of a strange thing we have to talk about this every year, but what we do.
So with all the subdivisions and everything, you're able to just increase by one bus?
I have an amazing.
Thank you very much.
assistant.
That's amazing. Thank you, that keeps the costs down, I appreciate it.
Reviewing and moving, trying to,
Yes.
Okay.
Any big changes in walking, or is it pretty much the same?
yeah, okay.
Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the bus routes and walk zones as presented in our packets and by Manager Saxton for the 2023-24 school year.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, Kirsty?
Aye.
Russ? Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Joey?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
That's
And we do have bus openings,
I don't know if you heard, but I got a little eye issue, and now let me drive right now. Thank you, darling.
Okay, first reading of policy 648, health and wellness. Trustee Johnson, Thomas, and Director Graves.
I assume Russ pointed me because this is the health and wellness, if you can tell.
That's me.
I actually wasn't, this is the one time I've been absent all year, so I missed this meeting, so just in case you have questions, I will email you guys. But this was the first read. This one got missed, otherwise it would have been on the last one, so there's no reason it's all by itself. It's just-
I had a couple questions, so either one of you could answer. I tried to get to policy 639 when you go down to parent engagement. As outlined in policy 639, it would not click on for me. Is that a policy I'm supposed to be familiar with? Because I did read my Slate magazine probably.
639 was one that we reviewed yesterday, and it'll be ready for first read.
Okay, so we haven't seen
Hopefully in
it?
September.
Okay, that's my first question. And then my second question was, why is it going from will to may?
So what?
From will to may in the parent engagement provided? Why is it a may be provided? Is that because it's up to the parents to ask? There doesn't have to be an alternative plan?
Oh, in the last.
Yeah, where it says parent engagement. I'm sorry, I'm on parent engagement. My husband always says that to me. Just let me know where you're at.
I can answer that because I
Yeah.
was facilitating. Then we had quite a discussion about sometimes parents don't want an
That's what I was
alternative for
wondering.
this particular topic. They want to provide it. And so that's why it was changed to.
Yeah, I just wanted to know. I
Yeah.
wondered if that wouldn't be it, if parents would say,
Yeah.
wait, I don't want to talk about that, I want to do it my own way.
Yep.
Or
I
I
don't
just
want to use
don't
your
want to do it,
materials. I
yeah.
want to do my own thing.
Okay.
Or our church is doing something or whatever.
Yeah, that was, I wondered if that was it, but I just wanted to double check on that.
If the parents want an alternative from the teacher, is that given?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a will or may?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I misspoke, 639 was brought to you guys, asked us to bring it back to reorganize.
That's the one that we're going to divide into two?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, which isn't on here.
And we're in the midst of it still.
Yeah, see, I was just trying to figure out, what is 639? All the numbers, can't remember. No, I don't. So, okay.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the first reading of policy 648, health and wellness.
We have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, Kirsty?
Aye.
Yes. Aye. Kim?
Aye.
Joey?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, as authorized in policy 215, consider approval of policy 210, composition and authority of the board for the purpose of an emergency. Dr. Graves?
And I apologize to some of you, if you were here yesterday, this is the same repeat. We are trying to get all caught up on all the ones that were passed as of July 1st with new laws. We're not there yet, so this 210, if you scroll to this blue part, we just wanted to add this piece as requested by the Board of Statutes of the state, so that any policy, we have to follow the statutes of the state. No matter, even if we haven't quite got our policy committee, advisory committee there yet. This will kind of give us a little we're about 6 to 8 at a time meeting. There's a few more that need to be updated.
So in other words, we default to the state if our policy hasn't been made or put in. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I think it's just to clarify that nobody could use it as a defense that, well, the policy it hasn't really been passed yet. I mean, the statutes of the state apply as of July 1st. And it's just a recognition that the statutes of the state
So whether
apply.
we've gotten to that or not, we go by what the state has said.
And we need to align them, we need to get them squared away, but we also,
That takes time.
it's just a recognition that the statutes that the state apply. And we may work on this a little bit more because, but this is what's proposed, so we're going to move forward with this. But I think we also ought to have a reference to the United States Constitution as well as federal laws as well. I mean, they also apply, and they also pertain to us, and also have bearing on what we do and how we do it. So,
Trustee Johnson, if you want to make that change for this, we certainly could do that.
yeah, I think we ought to work on that, and I think that could probably go through the regular process. I don't know that it needs to necessarily be an emergency. I think this was something that was brought up, and I think it's a good clarification that we just make sure that because we had a lot of statutes that took place on July 1st, and we've got a school year starting, I think it's good to have this clarification. But I think we could probably take a little more time to kind of work on the rest of it. So.
I think an important note to this is that as an emergency approval like this, that means this is the third reading.
Yes.
And this goes into effect immediately.
Yes.
Just to clarify.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move to approve policy 210, composition and authority of the board as an emergency action.
And I'll second that.
All in favor, Kirsty?
Aye.
Russ? Aye. Kim?
Aye.
Joy?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Good of the order. Building knowledge, keeping balance event for coaches, parents, and athletes on August 10th, 6 to 8 p.m. at the high school gym. Thank goodness we have, well, it hasn't been bad, but we have AC in there now. New teachers orientation on August 14th and 15th, 8 to 4 at Swan Falls High School. Joint meeting among the city council, planning and zoning, and Kuna School District, August 17th, 7 to 8 at the city hall.
Yeah, Chairman, if you are planning to attend, if you would let me know so then I can let the city know they're feeding people and they just want to make sure there's enough room.
Do they really think it's only gonna take an hour?
That's what they have said, but I think for this part of the discussion, as I understand it, is like how can we better support the schools is kind of the discussion.
So I'll have to send my regrets because
Okay.
I will be in California during that time, so
Okay.
I will not be able to attend.
We'll miss you.
And I'm coaching tackle football right now. I might be able to make it for the last little bit. I'll go down there after practice.
Okay, thank you.
I'll be there.
I will be there.
I'll be there. Awesome, thank you.
You didn't know down there on his first thing, it's just
We'll post it.
either way.
Yeah, we'll post it. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, thank you. Welcome staff to the 23-24 school year on August 22nd, 8 to 9:30 at the K-PAC.
I'd like to say I will be able to attend.
Okay.
JD's speaking, so.
Oh, JD speaking?
Yeah, you can listen to me.
Oh, I'm thrilled.
So excited.
I'm short and sweet.
That's what I like about it.
Possibility of the special meeting to discuss enrollment and emergency levy on August 31st at 6 o'clock. And then Region 3 ISBA meeting September 7th, 5:30 to 8 p.m. in Kuna.
At Silver, at Swan Falls.
Yeah, I just need to bring up the number 5 possibility. I will be out of town the 31st, but I'll be here the 30th, the 29th, the 28th, if, for that.
We may not need it, but it was, we don't know until usually kind of our 5th day of school.
I just wanted you to know.
Yeah, so if we met on the 30th, we would be able to
I'll be here.
make decisions or the first.
So can I just say the Region 3 ISBA meeting, we usually go over the resolutions that were submitted. There was only 5 this year, so fun times. They have some really great stuff planned for this. It's gonna be a good training opportunity too, so. And we hope to get the culinary arts group to feed us dinner again, so that will be good.
I plan on being there, enjoy everyone. Are we gonna have legislatures there?
No.
No. And then I just had a question going back to the consent agenda on the changing facilities. Is there a plan to discuss with administration or so that way we don't have any more instances of children going to bathrooms?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have administrative leadership training Wednesday and Thursday, so tomorrow and Thursday, and we're going through the immediate changes and informing some scenarios. What do you do with, how do we make this available, the information available, how do we educate everybody about the changes that have happened?
Okay, and then is there gonna be some type of procedure if a child goes in there and isn't supposed to? I mean, should a child report it, or what does that look like?
Absolutely.
That's it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn. This is one of our shortest, so I'm
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't think we can do a short meeting.
Thanks.